Operation Neptune Spear, a name forever etched in history. This daring mission, carried out by a select group of U.S. Navy SEALs, had one crucial objective: to capture or kill Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks, had evaded capture for almost a decade. His reign of terror cast a long shadow. Finding him, an almost impossible task. After 9/11, the CIA made finding bin Laden their top priority. The trail was cold. Bin Laden, a ghost. Years passed. Analysts followed dead-end leads. Frustration grew. The key? Bin Laden's couriers. These trusted messengers were the lifeline to the outside world. The CIA dedicated immense resources to tracking these couriers. It was a long shot, but it was their best shot. Finally, a breakthrough. The CIA identified a courier with the alias Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. He was close to bin Laden's inner circle. Intelligence led them to a sprawling compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. It was unusual. High walls, security measures, no phone lines, no internet. Could this be it? Was bin Laden hiding in plain sight? The CIA watched. They listened. Every detail mattered. They had to be sure. The CIA used every tool at their disposal. Satellites, drones, local informants. They observed a tall, pacing figure within the compound walls. The pacer, they called him. Could this be bin Laden? The pieces of the puzzle were coming together. The pressure mounted. President Obama had a decision to make. Section 5. Planning the assault, a high-stakes gamble. The stakes couldn't be higher. Failure was not an option. The mission had to be planned with meticulous detail. Secrecy was paramount. Pakistan, a key ally in the war on terror, was not informed. The risk of leaks was too great. Every detail was scrutinized. The layout of the compound, the guard routines, the potential escape routes. Lives were on the line. Section 6. Options on the table. Picking the best course of action. Several options were considered. The room was filled with tension as military strategists and intelligence officers debated the best course of action. Each option had its own set of risks and rewards, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The lives of both military personnel and civilians hung in the balance, and the decision-makers knew that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences. An airstrike would be the safest for the United States forces, minimizing the risk to American soldiers. The precision of modern airstrikes meant that they could target specific locations with remarkable accuracy. However, the intelligence had to be flawless. Any error in targeting could lead to unintended consequences. The military planners weighed the benefits of a quick, decisive strike against the potential for collateral damage, but it risked civilian casualties. The images of previous conflicts where airstrikes had gone wrong loomed large in their minds. The destruction of civilian infrastructure and the loss of innocent lives could turn public opinion against the mission. The ethical implications were profound, and the decision-makers grappled with the moral weight of their choices. A joint operation with Pakistan was another possibility, leveraging the local knowledge and resources of Pakistani forces. This option promised a more nuanced approach, potentially reducing the risk of civilian casualties. However, the complexities of international collaboration added another layer of difficulty. Trust was a significant issue. Could they rely on their partners to keep the operation secret and execute it flawlessly? But trust was an issue. Could they maintain secrecy? The final decision? A daring ground raid. The planners knew that a ground raid would be the most dangerous option for the troops involved, but it also offered the highest chance of success with the least collateral damage. The element of surprise would be crucial, and the operation would require meticulous planning and flawless execution. A team of SEALs from the elite DevGru unit, known as SEAL Team 6, would be tasked with the mission. These highly trained operatives had a track record of executing the most challenging missions with precision and bravery. The decision was made, and the team began their intense preparations. The weight of the mission was heavy, but the resolve of the SEALs was unshakable. They knew the risks, but they also knew the importance of their task. The world would be watching, and failure was not an option. Section 7 0 Hour, the raid on Abbottabad. May 1, 2011. Darkness shrouded the Abbottabad compound. a team of SEALs boarded 2 stealth Black Hawk helicopters. The helicopters hummed through the night, their sophisticated technology designed to evade Pakistani radar. The mission was go. Tension crackled in the air as the helicopters approached the compound. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon. Section 8. Inside the compound. A firefight and a capture. One helicopter made a hard landing inside the compound walls. The sound of the rotor blades slicing through the night air was deafening, but the SEALs remained focused. They knew the risks involved and were prepared for anything. The compound was heavily fortified and the element of surprise was crucial. The SEALs swarmed out, their training kicking in. A firefight erupted almost immediately. Bullets whizzed past and the air was filled with the sounds of gunfire and shouts. The team moved with precision, each member covering the other as they advanced. They had trained for this moment countless times, and their coordination was flawless. The SEALs moved swiftly, clearing each building, room by room. Every second counted. They encountered resistance but neutralized threats with efficiency. The layout of the compound was complex, with narrow hallways and multiple levels, but the SEALs navigated it with ease. Their mission was clear: find and capture or neutralize the target. On the 3rd floor, they found him, Osama bin Laden. Unarmed, he resisted. Shots were fired. The confrontation was brief but intense. The SEALs had to make split-second decisions, and their training guided them. The target was down, but the mission was not yet over. They had to secure the area and ensure there were no further threats. The Al-Qaeda leader was down. The team confirmed the identity of the target and secured the body. They knew the significance of this moment, not just for their mission but for the world. The leader of Al-Qaeda, responsible for numerous attacks and the mastermind behind 9/11s, had been neutralized. The mission was a success. Justice had been served. The SEALs regrouped and prepared for extraction. They had accomplished what they set out to do, and the world would soon learn of their bravery and precision. As they debriefed, the weight of their achievement began to sink in. They had made history. Section 9. Aftermath, the world reacts. The world stood still as the news broke. It was a moment that would be etched in history forever. The operation that led to this monumental event was meticulously planned and executed with precision. Intelligence officers had spent countless hours analyzing data, and soldiers had trained rigorously for this very moment. The briefing rooms were filled with tension and anticipation as the final details were ironed out. This was not just another mission. It was a turning point in the global fight against terrorism. News of bin Laden's death spread like wildfire. Relief, jubilation. In Times Square, the news ticker flashed the announcement, and almost instantly, crowds began to gather. People from all walks of life came together, united in their shared sense of relief and triumph. The streets were filled with cheers, flags waving, and spontaneous celebrations. It was a moment of collective catharsis, a release of the tension that had gripped the world for nearly a decade. Television screens in homes, bars, and public spaces broadcast the breaking news, and everywhere people paused to take it in. The world held its breath. In living rooms, cafes, and public squares, people watched with intense expressions as the details unfolded. News anchors, with a mix of solemnity and urgency, delivered the updates. The gravity of the moment was palpable. This was not just a piece of news, it was a seismic shift in the global landscape. The sense of anticipation was almost tangible as people waited for confirmation and more details. DNA testing confirmed his identity. In a lab, far removed from the public eye, scientists worked meticulously to verify the identity of the man who had eluded capture for so long. The DNA sequencing equipment hummed as samples were processed. Technicians, aware of the significance of their work, handled each sample with the utmost care. The confirmation came swiftly, a testament to the advancements in forensic science. This was the final piece of the puzzle, the irrefutable evidence that the mission had been a success. His body, treated with respect according to Islamic tradition, was buried at sea within 24 hours. On a Navy ship, under the cover of night, a respectful burial ceremony took place. The rites were conducted in accordance with Islamic tradition, a gesture of respect even in the face of enmity. The decision to bury him at sea was both practical and symbolic, ensuring that his final resting place would not become a shrine or a point of contention. The ceremony was brief but solemn, a quiet end to a life that had caused so much turmoil. Bin Laden's death was a major blow to Al-Qaeda, but the fight against terrorism was far from over. In the aftermath, efforts were redoubled to dismantle the remnants of the organization he had built, Propaganda materials were seized and destroyed, and military planning sessions took on a renewed sense of urgency. Soldiers on patrol remained vigilant, aware that the threat had not been entirely eradicated. This was a significant victory, but it was also a reminder of the ongoing struggle. The networks and ideologies that fueled terrorism were still very much alive, and the world could not afford to become complacent. The world was forever changed. In the days and weeks that followed, the impact of bin Laden's death was felt around the globe. Security measures were heightened at landmarks and public spaces, a precaution against potential reprisals. Newspaper headlines from every corner of the world reflected the magnitude of the event. Reactions were diverse, ranging from relief and celebration to reflection and caution. This was a watershed moment, one that would shape international relations and security policies for years to come. This was a victory, but a somber one. For many, the news brought a sense of closure, but it also reopened old wounds. Military personnel, who had lost comrades in the fight against terrorism, took moments to reflect on the cost of this victory. Flags were flown at half-mast in honor of those who had fallen. People across the world engaged in quiet contemplation, remembering the lives lost and the sacrifices made. This was a time for both celebration and mourning, a recognition of the complex emotions that such a momentous event could evoke. The cost of that victory, the lives lost on 9/11 and in the years since, weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Memorials for the victims of 9/11 saw an influx of visitors as people came to pay their respects. Families mourned at grave sites, their grief a stark reminder of the human toll of terrorism. Tribute ceremonies for fallen soldiers were held, honoring their bravery and sacrifice. The victory over bin Laden was significant, but it came with a profound sense of loss. The world had changed, and the scars of that change were still fresh. This was a moment of reflection, a time to honor the past while looking towards a future that, hopefully, would be more secure and peaceful.